All right, welcome back to another edition of Chasing Ghosts. This is the video series where I talk about those hard to find, those impossible to find comics, those things you just don't see up at the wall at your LCS when you go pick up your new books on Wednesdays. These are then some things you might have to hunt and track down for a while before you get lucky enough to find yourself a copy of your own. Now, I got a few ideas and a few different kind of connective tissue kind of options on this one. We're kind of getting back to the DC stuff with the 1 in 10s because I still feel like there's a lot of 1 in 10s that have kind of been ignored and not talked about by anybody for a while, and things you should be aware of because you might be able to find these books when you go out there digging. So this kind of goes back to 2 weeks ago, and we're going to be looking at some more Wildstorm type stuff. Now, hopefully you enjoy that as well as the rest of the stuff we have here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Continue to check out the live shows on Sundays and Wednesdays. I got a Whatnot coming up this Sunday that I hope you guys come by and check out. It's Star Wars this weekend, so it was all Star Wars books, all starting at $1 on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Come give me a follow on Whatnot and check out the books that I got. And some of my buddies are also doing some sales this weekend as well. Ben C. and Mellow Fellow on Whatnot, and My Bargain Comics, Phil with Vintage Comics and Toys. And I think everybody's getting in the fun. It's a special weekend for Star Wars. So come check out some great Star Wars books there. Now that all selfless plugs out of the way, if you want to see what books I'm talking about with these 1 in 10s, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I'll be right back with this week's selection of books. All right, so as I kind of mentioned there in the open, once again, I'm going to be looking at those 1 in 10s from Wildstorm. And whether they be the video game related stuff, there's a lot of properties that Wildstorm was able to do comics on back in those, the early 10s, teens, I don't know what you want to call those, where they had a lot of interesting books and things that are tricky and tougher to find than you might think because they weren't heavily printed to begin with. Even the regular issues aren't that easy to find, let alone the 1 in 10s. So let's just take a look at a few of these and see what we think. Now, the first one being a very interesting series, and this was a very good run. I've heard rumors of adaptations for years now. Who knows if we're ever going to get anything, but Ex Machina was a great run from Vaughn and Tony Harris. The final issue, issue 50, has a 1 in 10, done by Jim Lee. You know I'm a big fan of Jim Lee. This is one I do not own. I've been on the lookout for a while now to try to get one for cheap, and I have not been lucky yet. But I will, be vigilant and keep looking, and hopefully I will find one for my collection. Because, like I said, I like Jim Lee, so I collect Jim Lee books. And this is a pretty cool one. So the final issue of Ex Machina has this Jim Lee cover on the 1 in 10. This came out in August of 2010. Like I said, 1 in 10. And also, as I mentioned, the print run on this was not high. It was only about 14,000 to begin with. So when you do that quick basic math, 1 in 10, there's maybe 1,400 copies thereabouts on this book. So definitely not a lot of copies to be found to begin with. Check over to the CGC census, and we only got 8 in the census total, with 6 9/8s and a couple of 9/6s, and that's it. And then nothing on the CBCS population report that I could find. Checking the market on this one, listed for sale right now. We have 2. I was able to find 2. So there's a copy for $90 and a copy for $125. A little too rich for my blood. I definitely want to find it for cheaper than that. So I will keep hunting and keep looking because, again, I got a budget and I like it, but I got a limit on what I want to pay for something like this. This is only a 1 in 10 after all, and I still have to be mindful of that. So, I mean, you make your call however you see fit, but $90, $125 are your 2 options right now. As of right now, that's what we're looking at. And no copies had sold over the last 3 months, so we can't have anything to compare it to right now to see if that's what the market would allow. But we'll see. I mean, you pay what you want. I mean, it's your money. You do what you like. Next book on this, we're going to stick, again, all Wildstorm here. The next one goes to the video game side of things, and we're going to go to Resident Evil. Now, I know we got a new movie that just was released not that long ago. We got series coming, I think on Netflix. Resident Evil's kind of coming back. So this 1 in 10, I think they were calling it like the video game variant, but I don't see it really as a video game. But this is the 1 in 10 for the Resident Evil series from March of 2009. Still not an easy book to come by. This issue had a couple of other covers as well. I think there was like a blockbuster. No, wait, that's Gears of War. Getting ahead of myself, but there are a couple of options of regular covers, but this is the 1 in 10. And the print run on this one is still not that high. It's only 15,000 or so. So that's going to make our incentive only be about 1,500 or so when we do that quick math. CGC census on this also low, only 5 copies total with 4 9/8 and a 9/6. So not a lot of graded copies on this either. I don't know if that's because there are not a lot of copies out there, not a lot of copies that people feel like grading. I don't know the condition. Who knows why things get graded and things don't? But this is one that does not have a lot of copies submitted, at least as of this time. You check the market, we do have a few. There are a few out there, ranging from $60. There's a $75 raw, 85 for I think it's the regular issue and the 1 in 10, and then $250 for a 9/8. So pretty cool. I mean, there's options out there. So this one's probably not going to end up on the ghost side of things, but still something you can see. There's not a lot of copies, so it's still something to be mindful of when you're out there hunting. So it doesn't have to be a ghost. It could just be hard to find, but I still think it's worth paying attention to and noting. Still not an easy book, and one copy sold back in November for $60. So there you go. That's kind of the last time one moved on the market, at least eBay for eBay purposes. I mean, you can buy your comics in a lot of other places, but for my purposes here, this is what we're looking at. We're just looking at the eBay sales because it's easiest to kind of track. Now, moving off of Resident Evil, we are going to talk about Modern Warfare, sticking with the video games. Modern Warfare 2 Ghost. Now, I know I mentioned this book before. I actually picked it up as I have it next to me, but this is only a B cover. This Jim Lee, awesome Jim Lee cover on this Modern Warfare Ghost book. I dig it. But this, from what I gather, is only a B cover. So who knows how many copies there are of this one. But this issue also had a 1 in 10. So I think as a lot of people gravitate towards the Jim Lee because it's Jim Lee and it's a pretty cool cover, I think a lot of people forget about the video game variant. That's the 1 in 10. So let's not forget this one. Keep an eye out for this as well because there are not a lot of them. I mean, November 2009, this 1 in 10. Estimated print run on this is under 12,000 total. Under 12,000 total. So who knows how many of the A's and how many are the B's, but we can figure that there's under 1,200 of that 1 in 10 incentive. So definitely not going to be an easy one to track down. Census also very light. Only 3 copies in the census with 2 9/8 and a 9/4. So you can see not a lot of graded copies of these books that I'm talking about here. Listed for sale, there are 2. One asking $140, one asking $190. So definitely not cheap. And there are 2. And what's sold? Well, none have sold recently because just like many of these books, there's not a lot of interest right now on these. These are just kind of forgotten about, ignored. Just things that's not on a lot of people's minds right now. Who's talking about Modern Warfare 2 right now? Not a lot of people. So that's why a book like this might be at the back burner. So if you come across it, you stumble across it, but just be mindful of it when you're out there digging and out there shopping, that maybe you see some of this stuff and it's underpriced and you can get it for, a decent price. Going back to Gears of War, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, and sticking with Wildstorm, sticking with the video games here, Gears of War also had a number 1 that was a 1 in 10. This did have multiple copies, and this is the one I think there was a blockbuster version as well. But we're not talking about that. We're just talking about the 1 in 10, October 2008, 1 in 10 version. This one had close to 20,000, just under 20,000 on the print run. So the incentive is under, 2,000. So it's about 1,900 or so on the incentive, potentially. Again, just doing that simple math based off of estimated numbers, not set in stone, just ballpark figures to kind of give you an idea of what might be out there. More copies of this one in the census, too, as you can see. There are a whopping 5 9.9s. I was flabbergasted by that. 5 9.9s on this one, 15 9/8, and a single 9/4. It's like 9.9s, and it's going to get more interesting than that as we move on. But 5 9.9s is No small feat, especially when you don't have that many graded. And we did actually have something in the CBCS population report on this, as we did have a 9.6. So we had a single 9.6 on this Brandon Badeau variant, the 1 in 10 for Gears of War. Now, on the market, if you go shopping for this, you can find yourself 3 right now. So there's a copy for 50 raw, $100 raw, and $500 for a 9.8. So not cheap, but I mean, $50 is crazy for a book that's not that easy to find. I mean, I don't know. Still, I'm not buying it at that price because I'm not that big of a Gears of War guy, and I don't know, it's just something I'd be mindful of when I was out there shopping. If I found it for for cheap, with $10, maybe even $20, I'd be like, "Oh, this is a good find." But these are the copies online if you are interested. Personally, uh, copies sold. Well, you can see it can move for a little bit less than that. Somebody won one back in December for $9.50. Can't say it enough. Pay attention to those auctions. Auctions, you can sometimes sneak some of these harder to find, it kind of forgotten about books because you're not going to have a lot of competition. Only 5 bids got it up to 950. So not a lot of action on that one. So again, be mindful of the auctions, especially when you're looking at some of these kind of, I don't even want to say rare, hard to find, but it's mostly just forgotten about. This is who's talking again about Gears of War right now? Nobody. So $40, buy it now back in January. And then in February 10th, somebody's paid 420 for a 9.8. So that was a pretty decent sale right there. Granted, it was discounted 30% off of an original $600 ask, but still, that's a decent sale for this book. Again, because I'm sure not a lot of people are talking about it. Now, sticking with Gears of War, because we do have a couple of others, because I didn't even know that there were other incentive variants for this series. I knew there's some cool covers to keep an eye out for, like this next one. Uh, this is a 1 in 10 for issue 5. I don't know why for issue 5, but in March of 2009, there was a 1 in 10 for issue 5 of Gears of War. Now, by this time, this book had gone down from that 20,000 for issue 1 and only about 11,000 for issue 5, so making the incentive down to about 1,100 or so. So a lot less copies on this one than that number 1. And you can see the video game stylings on that cover. This one actually has a 10. There's a 10.0 in the census and a 9.6, and that's it. But there's a 10. A 10. I don't run across many 10s. Even when I research stuff, I don't see many 10s in the census. But yes, we have a 10 for this book that there are no copies out there right now. None. But there was a sale. We did have a sale. Somebody accepted an offer back in December on $40. I could have looked it up to see the price, but under $40 is what was accepted on this. And there are none up right now. So definitely not an easy book to find. And then there was another 1 in 10 for this series. Again, I didn't know that there was because I knew of this Jim Lee cover for the cover A, which is another fun one to go find. I found this in a dollar box before. Keep an eye out for it. It's a pretty cool cover. I like it on its own. This is a cool cover A, but I didn't know that there was also a 1 in 10 for this same issue. Why? I don't know why they picked this issue to do a 1 in 10, personally. I did not read this series to know maybe if there's something important happening in the storyline to make it worth, making an incentive out of nowhere. Because again, there weren't incentives across the board. It's issue 1, 5, and 9 for whatever reason. And here's the cover for the incentive. Like I said, I like the Jim Lee better, but this thing is also not an easy find. This is a 1 in 10 for July of 2009. And print run again, going down. Only about 9,300 copies on the total. So only maybe 936 on the incentive. So under 1,000 for the incentive. This is getting tougher and tougher as we move on. And when we check the census, there is another 9.9 and 398s and a 9.2. So only 5 total, but one of them is a 9.9. How these Wildstorm video game books got such high scores, I don't believe they all had cardstock covers. I know like Ratchet and Clank had that nice cardstock cover on it, but I don't believe they all did. Like even this Jim Lee one, I don't think it does. But hey, who knows? But the high grades are in the census for some of these books. I mean, a 10.0 and a couple 9.9s, nothing to sneeze at. But just like issue 5, there are no copies out there right now. So we can't find any. And there were none sold either over the last few months. So this one don't have any real information on as far as the market goes. Definitely not an easy book to find. So that's kind of going to wrap up kind of my video game portion of what I want to look at today. But I do have another series of books that do kind of fall into a theme. We're still sticking with Wildstorm here, and we're still sticking with the 1 in 10s. But these are all going to be Fringe books. Now, there were 2 runs of Fringe. There was the Fringe 6-issue miniseries with an issue 0 preview book, and then there was Tales from the Fringe, which came, I think, a year later. The books I'm going to look at now are going to be all the 1 in 10s for the Tales from the Fringe, second volume, I guess, of the series. And here we go. This is the first one. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's a photo cover. I mean, if you like the show, I like the show. It's on HBO Max. I put it on sometimes when I'm working from home, just in the background, because I've seen them all before. But pretty cool show. I dig it. I like the characters, and yeah, it's not too bad of a photo cover. I'm generally not a photo cover collector, but this could be a fun thing to add to your collection, especially if you can get it signed by some of the actors. But June 2010 on this, 1 in 10. Had to put this in. Start us off. Only 8,000 copies printed. So the 1 in 10 is only going to be about 800. Not a heavily printed series. So you can see where we're going to get going with this one as we move along. This was issue 1. Issue 1's only got 8,000. Where are we going to end up before this 6 issues are through? Census on this. There's one, and it's a 9.9. Again, I don't know what's with these Wildstorm books and these high grades, but there is a high 9.9, and the only copy graded of this 1 in 10 in the census. Interesting. On the market right now, I found one, $50. So there's one out there for $50. Not terrible. Like I said, if this is your thing, you like photo covers, might not be too bad. But as far as the market goes, none have sold over the last 3 months, so don't know what the kind of sale prices should be on this. Now, that was issue 1, again with the photo cover. Now, the rest of the way, this is the reason why I chose this volume of books, because I think these are really cool. I think this is a fun little kind of topic or like cover theme that they did for the rest of the series on these 1 in 10s. So bear with me as we get to it. We're going to go now to issue 2, because every issue across the 6 has a 1 in 10, and I'm looking at all of them because they're all worth looking at. Photo cover aside, here we go, issue 2. Pretty cool. You see a Fringe fake comic thrown down on top of a pile. So it's almost like a photo cover of a comic book cover on this cover. And this is, Batman number 75. That's made up to look like the Death of Superman cover, because that's kind of what they went with the comic covers here with the Fringe. It's kind of like a little twist, a little twist outside the norm. So if you watch the series, you get it. You see what they're kind of going for here. Like this could be an alternate universe where something just slightly different. And in this case, Batman is the one who died in this issue 75. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like it. I like it as a topic. August 2010 on this. Like I said, it's a 1 in 10. And for this, only 6,500 were printed. Total estimated. So that only gives us about 650 for the 1 in 10 incentive. That's a big drop already from issue 1 to issue 2. In the census, we got 12. We got a 10, a 9.9, and then 10 9.8s. So once again, high grades just flying out. When this gets graded, they get some high grades. But that's it. Only those 12 in the census for the book. And then none over on the CBCS population report for any of these. I did find 3 copies of this book out there online right now. 150, $200, $300 raw. Not cheap, but there were 3. There were 3 copies. So there were options. A pretty cool cover. I like it, but still not cheap. But there are multiple copies. And then we had none sold the last 3 months. So again, don't know where the market exactly is right now on this book raw, but pretty cool. Now we're going to move on to issue 3. And as I said, we're going to be doing some of these kind of homage covers that are slightly twisted. And also, I like how it's thrown here. You can see issue 75 is underneath this next issue where they're doing the Superman, the Man of Steel returns, which obviously is a play on the Dark Knight Returns. I like it. I like it. I also like how the cover isn't like a full homage cover. It's like a comic book laying on top of a stack of comic books. And we see last issue there underneath of it. And then you're going to see it build. As we move on, we're going to see new issues thrown on top of the pile. I like it. It was a very fun idea. I wish I had all these. I do not. They're not easy to come by and can be pretty expensive, as we already saw with the Batman book, issue 2. Now, this one is also, again, as they all have been, 1 in 10s. August 2010. Yes, this is also August of 2010 because this came out the same month as issue 2. kind of like a first last week kind of thing, I guess. Uh, don't know why, but they were both released in the same month. Print run ticked down a little bit, just under 6,000 copies. So our incentive is just under 600 total, whereas the last issue was just above. This came in a hair under, so started to dwindle just a little bit. CGC census, 3 9.9s. I'm telling you, these 9.9s and 10s, they're just flying off, just coming out of the census for these books. I don't get it. 9 9.8s and a single 9.6. So there's 13 total in this book, again, with 3 pretty high 9.9s for it. On the market, if you want to go buy the one copy I could find out there, it's $300. So not cheap. You only got the one option right now. Best offer. So if you want to make an offer, feel free. But that's the only one. And there have been none sold the last 3 months on this particular issue. But it's still a pretty cool book and one worth keeping an eye out for. Again, I would love to have all of these. I really like them all, but they're not easy. They are not easy. So we're going to move on to number 4. Throwing another copy on top of the pile. Now we have Crisis on Infinite Earths, and we can see just the kind of flip-flop. Flip-flop for issue 7. Instead of Soup's holding Supergirl, Supergirl is holding Superman. Pretty cool. I like it. Just those slight little tweaks. Make it list a little bit different. And again, comic thrown on top of the pile. We see the Batman 75. We see the Superman Returns. I like it. I'm going to say it the last time. I like the idea. Pretty fun. I hope they do like something like this again. But also, 1 in 10, September 2010 for this issue. So the next month, they're starting to come out on the regular, down to 5,600 copies of the regular cover A. So only 561 potentials on this incentive. You can see it's coming down. I mean, it's coming down, and it wasn't high to begin with. But any high grades on this one? No 9.9s, but we still have 8 9.8s and a 9.6. So 9 copies graded for this one in the census, but still pretty high. But just surprised. I'm surprised no 9.9s or 10s like the other ones. Just kind of got in a rhythm. I thought we were going to be getting more. But for that, we have just one copy listed for sale, and it is a CGC SS 9.8, and it wants $1,750, $1,750 on this one. So steep price, but it's also a signature series, and that's take that for what it is. If you like signatures, you're a signature collector, you sometimes are going to be paying a premium, and that's an interesting thing around signature books, but that's also a reason why I don't like collecting them, because it ends up being, am I paying for the signature? Am I paying for the book? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know. I'd rather just a blue label for myself. For my own collection, I'd rather a blue label, but this is what's out there. That's the only option out there. So if you want this book, there you go. That's your shot, because none have sold either of the last 3 months. So who knows when the next one is going to come up to market. Like I said, under 600 under 600 books, under 600 potential copies, it's not going to be an easy one. Definitely not going to be an easy one if you want to try to build out this set. Good luck. And again, if I know I mentioned on the other previous videos, if you have any of these books, please tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see them, especially these books. I'd love to see if people have them in their collections. I think it's pretty cool. Wish I had them, but yeah, tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see it. Moving on, number 5. Justice League. It's hard to even tell if it's different. Well, it is slightly. It is slightly in the fact that we have everybody except it's not Guy Gardner, it's Jonah Hex. Why? I don't know why, but just a slight change there. Want to make something of it? I guess I don't. But pretty cool. Again, you see it thrown on the pile with all the other books right there. I like it. Fun idea. Wish they do more stuff like this. 1 in 10, October 2010 for this one. Only just under 5,300 copies of the regular. So our incentive is 529 potentials. Still going down. Not a lot of copies to be had. And we hit the census up. No more of the super high grades, but we do have 6. We have 5 9.8s and a 9.6 for this one out there. So still not too bad there. List for sale. There is one. There is a 9.6 looking for $200. Might not be that bad of a price. Might not be a bad of a price, especially for this book. It's not going to be an easy one to find. His print run has gotten lower and lower and lower as we've gone on. And as you might have guessed, no copies sold over the last 3 months. That leaves us with one more. One more for issue 6 our final one, and this is the Red Lantern, Red Arrow. Stop. This is the new Red Lantern, Red Arrow. So pretty cool. I mean, obviously, you can see it's an homage to this Green Lantern issue 76, but it's red. So that's the slight tweak there. Slight tweak, pretty fun. Again, comic throw on the pile on top of the rest. 1 in 10. This one was November of 2010. Print run on this one just under 5,200 copies. So we're looking at a possible 518 of this incentive out there. So the least amount of all of them would be the final issue. It's not surprising. Print run would go down as orders lowered and lowered. But yet we have another 10, ladies and gentlemen. In the CG census, there is a 10.0 for this book, as well as 9.8s. So 10 graded copies. One of them's a 10. Craziness. Craziness. I wonder what those 10s and 9.9s would do at market. But for this listed for sale, there's a raw looking for $250. So yeah, like I said, imagine what a 10.0 would cost. I don't even know. I don't even know what somebody would pay. But $250 for the raw is what's on the market, and same story. None have sold the last 3 months. It's not a book that's been moving. Not a book that a lot of people have been looking at. But I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was fun looking into these and talking about them. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully you enjoyed these. But let's make our call. As I've gone the last few weeks, maybe even a couple of months now, kind of given the restriction is one or less, one or none. So these issues, the Ex Machina, the Resident Evil, the Ghost, the Gears of War, and even that issue 2 with the Batman, where there were 3 copies of it. These can't call them ghosts. We're just going to call those 5 hard to find because there's at least 2 copies, if not more. Not that any of these have tons of copies. I think the Resident Evil had the most at like 4 or 5, but 2 to 3 copies on most of these. So we're just going to call those hard to find and expensive in most cases. So that still leaves us. And I know you were running through the numbers as we were going through this. A lot of these had 1 or none. So we are looking at potential ghosts for 7 out of these 12 books that I covered, from the 2 Gears of War books, 5 and 9, as well as Fringe issues 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All either had 1 copy on the Fringe books or no copies on the Gears of War books here. So I feel comfortable calling all of these 7 ghosts. Feel free, agree to disagree. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think of the series. And if you have any of these books, again, tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see them. Mention in the comments, too. If you don't have Instagram, just tell me in the comments. I'll take that as well. I just think it's fun to know what other people have in their collections sometimes, because some of these books, it's like you even question their existence half the time. So with that all being said, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for checking in. Tag me, comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. Check out my whatnot. Check out the live shows. Hopefully you're having fun, because I'm having fun doing this stuff. And even check out the merch. Here, I'm rocking one of my new Chasing Ghost Designs t-shirts that I made for myself. I mean, I mostly made it for myself, but if you want one, feel free. Click the links down below on the video or up top on the main page. Rennavision on TeePublic, and you can see a lot of these cool, fun little t-shirt designs. But wait for the sales. They always have sales. Like every couple of weeks, they have like $13 t-shirts, and that's when I do my shopping personally. So again, not plugging it. You make your own calls of what you want to do, but it is what it is. They got a lot of fun other stuff that's not my designs, and that's where I buy a lot of the t-shirts I wear on these shows. So that all said, I think I've done enough. Had fun doing this one. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Check out the live shows, and I will see you guys soon with some more content.